Alright. I'm just gonna ping everyone to let them know that I'm streaming. Video ping. Casual terraria. Alright. Start recording. Test. Alright. So, recap on what we're doing. I don't actually know. So, let's just hang out and get some stuff done. Wall of Flesh, maybe? I'm kind of nearly there. Oh, yeah, I need to get the lava charm for the fucking... I need to get the lava charm for the, lava waders, huh? Also, I need to fight Deerclops. I've not done that yet. Alright. Very nice and casual Terraria playthrough. Meteorite. That's gonna be useful for later. I'm stupid. I'm a stupid woman. Are you selling the fishing rod yet? Thank you. Boom, boom, boom. And then... Wait, no, not meteor armor. It's the star cannon.
The Glorified Partisan's pretty good. By virtue of the fact that it has a projectile that goes through blocks and goes a solid distance away, and it's also craftable with very easy to obtain materials, I could definitely see this being something that could be helpful to make when playing the game, just because you can attack things through blocks. It's like a death sickle, but not a rare drop from a rare event. Okay, I can effectively deal with nailheads with my Chlorophyte Partisan.
Fucking hell, you scared the shit out of me. Cool. I forgot that, like, I joined this VC because I'm streaming, not because I called you didn't answer.
Could be good for the moons. We do plan on doing the moons, and this seemed like it would take care of the crowds and the moons pretty well.
Alright, well, you can't do that. You can't do that to me because I got worried.
Spikes, by the way, I don't know if you've noticed. Look at the spikes with the toxic flask effect on top of them. They turn, like, completely square.
I do know how you are. Well, I'm streaming anyway. There's no one watching, but
What
I
is
am
that?
streaming.
What the hell? Oh, he was repeatedly
Some
trying
Terraria.
to
I just wanted to play.
get
Whenever I play Terraria, I
petrified,
just stream
but
it
because he was
because
in
fucking
front
why
of a
not?
piece of furniture, he couldn't get petrified, so he had this weird trailing effect behind him. That's weird. Sure. Oh, Golem also doesn't fall from above if there's a block right there.
Yeah, upload it.
That's interesting. Normally Golem falls from above, but I guess because the game calculates the ceiling as being directly on top of him, he doesn't fall.
Very
he
cute.
just immediately spawns there. I mean, this is a, what, 100-something damage weapon that's hitting
You're very like
multiple times a
kidnap me
second?
core.
Like, this is not bad damage, but it's not a razor pine. It's not a bubble gun.
What do you think it means?
Huh. Huh.
It's very,
I don't think
like,
there's really any way to
kidnap
make Ice
me,
Queen
Core,
not
like,
miserable
I'm-
using
like,
bad
I'm-
weapons.
I'm a
Whereas-
victim
okay,
and I
there's a
want to be
Christmas sword.
kidnapped.
So we're done with Frost Moon. You want to get an Elf Melter too? I'm not doing Frost Moon again. Frost Moon is like ripping teeth out.
Well, I never said anything about dying. You just like you was kidnapped.
There's
yeah.
actually an Elf Melter down there anyway, so we have it.
I don't know. You're just looking very kidnappable today. I
The
don't know what to tell
Jack-o'-lantern
you.
launcher is just the fucking Ranger equivalent of
No, not in
the
your
Flower
sleep.
of Fire. Now we can check how much damage this does.
I want you to. I don't want it. No, I don't want to kidnap you. I'm just joking around.
Seems to be hovering around 1,000.
I'm just saying you look like a. You just look like a. You look very, very child, like very, very kid-like. Very,
Which is quite a lot less than
very, very youthful.
the Jack-o'-lantern launcher. I mean, it has the advantage of being a bit easier to aim. And then Candy Corn Rifle is considerably worse. Because just trying to aim it is a nightmare. And he's off for single targets.
He's
It's
not.
the Elf Melter.
Sorry.
This is not good. Compare this to a chain gun or a tsunami, Eventide. Things that have.
Thanks for validating me. I appreciate it.
It's not good. Thankfully, the one thing we have is decent crowd control. Man, that one flow invader died. I didn't see him. He can't get out. He's stuck.
Yeah.
How'd you even get in there? Yeah, I can't kill these things. On a dummy, you deal 3,500 with the Elf Melter. Okay, well, I'm not dealing 3,500 with the Elf Melter. I don't know what your build is, but that's not applicable here. That DPS is not happening.
You crazy,
Yeah, you had
white
mentioned
girl?
before judging weapons based on their performance in Master Mode. I feel like if the weapon is performing well here in Master Mode, that probably means it's worth using. Whereas if it's performing subpar and not well, then yeah, there's a reason that
crazy.
nobody uses it, and it's a good reason. Because pretty much everything will perform adequately on Classic Mode. So I feel like being on Master Mode lets me draw that distinction where I can say, you know, this weapon
I don't know what to
is
say. Wash your
underutilized,
pussy
but
better.
it's pretty good. You know, it's not memorable, but it gets the job done. Versus things that are just really bad. Granted, Unholy Water would have sucked on any difficulty.
You
I would
literally
say
get
that one.
UTIs from not peeing, like cleaning the pee out of your pee
Enemies
hole.
are spawning inside of a block here. But they also can't mature to queens unless there's sufficient space, so... Oh, we're done.
Okay, but you ain't.
Let me go home.
So you fucking someone is what you're
slime
telling me?
I didn't even know slime rains could happen.
How you
during
get-
the pillars.
How you getting UTI? What, you're whinging because you're not getting enough segs?
When God, those things will linger forever. Okay. Can we kill you
Thanks
though?
for stopping by.
Please.
I'm just saying thanks for stopping by. This is fine.
Are they in sync? That's pretty cool. They are. Yo, I accidentally synchronized them. That's cool.
What are you showing me?
Those things are like perfectly in sync too. It's difficult doing that when you try to. It just feels very fine. That is as far as I would put it. It's not bad. It's doing things.
You got the
adequately.
Bojangles?
It was fine for the pillars. It's not good though. The takeaway is that the purple cloverfish,
awesome.
the pneumatic horn,
Go to Bojangles.
kind of the Christmas tree sword, but not really. It was. I wouldn't call it good, but it was acceptable. Problem is, you gotta compete with the Terrorblade.
Epic Bojangles W.
Honestly, kind of the Flower of Fire and Flower of Frost.
Bojangles, Chungus,
Are
what?
pretty good weapons. They're things that I would consider using.
I'm glad
Everything
you're
else that
happy.
I used, pretty bad.
I'm not. I'm in immense pain.
I'd like you to consider a question. What is the worst weapon in Terraria? Classic answers like the copper short sword or flare gun are nowhere near the worst. Trust me, I've beaten the game with both of them.
Boogie.
After 2 months, 216 hours of in-game time, and almost 90 hours spent on the Moonlord alone, I can safely say there isn't a weapon more deserving of the title.
I am streaming, so be careful.
This all started when I sent out a poll in my Discord server, voting on one final
what
low
about
challenge
it?
to do. The lawnmower won in a landslide with more than double the votes of paper airplanes. With my fate decided, I made a large roll on the remix seed.
She said the
remix seed disables
I'll
time
be
limits
in
for all
pain,
nighttime
but
bosses,
like
and
if
I'll
it
explain why I
continues
use
for the
journey
next
mode
like
later,
4
but
or
make the game
something
more
day, 4 or
difficult,
5
not easier.
days, then I need to
Bit of an
go
issue,
get
I don't
extra
have
pain
a
relief.
lawnmower, nor can I get one until I find the golfer in the underground desert. After making some houses, I depart on a journey upward with neither
I
weapon
really
nor
don't
any
know.
means of evasion. Thankfully, I am quite good at finding the underground desert is only step 1. I still have to locate the golfer inside of it.
Yeah.
And that took
I'm like concerned about it too.
too long. But upon finding him, we can finally get started. And now I can tell you why the
No, they won't give me
is so
morphine.
awful. This damage might look good, and sure, if you're on a flat surface with a low defense enemy that gets knocked back at the same speed that you
Probably
walk
the
at,
fucking
it's
Bojangles.
okay. Pre-hard mode slimes are pretty much the only enemies that fit that criteria. It deals 8
Instant
classless damage at a
fucking
rate of 5 times per second
chemical
in optimal
reaction in your
circumstances.
stomach.
That probably sounds pretty high. The wooden hammer only does 2 damage and attacks much slower, and paper airplanes deal 4. Hell, the copper short sword hits for 5. But it's not the damage that's the problem, it's dealing it. I said optimal circumstances. Firstly, it does classless damage, like the flare gun. That means that it cannot critically hit, and it cannot have its damage improved in any way. Despite what they say, Avenger emblems, menacing accessories, and wrath potions don't actually increase all damage. They only increase ranged, magic, melee, and summon damage. With a full suite of generic damage boosts, it still only does 8 damage. It also won't be affected by flasks, melee speed boosts, the sharpening station, frost armor, or anything similar. On top of that, the lawnmower requires you to be moving forward in the direction that it's facing. More specifically, it requires you to be holding down the movement key in the direction that it's facing. Whether or not you actually move doesn't matter. If you stand still or try to go back and forth to run something over, it just won't do anything. On top of that, the lawnmower has no hitbox unless you're standing on the ground. If you are even slightly in the air, it does nothing. You have to be on the ground on a minecart track or on a liquid with water walking potions. Actuated blocks don't bypass this requirement either. And guess what? If you're standing on the ground, walking directly towards an enemy with a low damage weapon, you're
I unbanned that Yukari person.
Into the air, which prevents you from dealing
literally
damage.
just so you can make fun of them.
On top of all of that, even if you're walking forward, standing on solid ground,
I
the
think so,
lawnmower's hitbox is minuscule. It's basically just the small spinning blade at the bottom. If the thing you're attacking is even
unban them so
slightly
you can
off
make
the
fun of
ground,
them.
like basically any flying enemy, you're not gonna hit it. Sure, the wooden hammer has lower base damage and attacks.
No one's
but
watching
it's a
my fucking
functional
stream.
Weapon. You can hit things with it consistently. It can use flasks,
Get real,
frost
no
armor,
one's
the fire
watching.
gauntlet. It benefits from the sharpening station. Trying to hit something with a lawnmower is a nightmare, and that base damage isn't gonna matter much once you get into hard mode, and defense reduces it to 1 damage regardless. The lawnmower requires a 2-block gap to attack through, and by using a block-swapped platform hoik, I found a way to trap enemies and attack them safely. That's a big part of how I killed enemies throughout the game, trapping them and then attacking them from the other side of a wall. To avoid the knockback issue against the eye, I stayed on a minecart track, since that gives you knockback immunity. It worked, although it was quite slow. I also found out that the Eye of Cthulhu has this weird damage multiplier when it's near death. You can see my lawnmower dealing 15 and 23 damage as it gets closer and closer. Since I was on Don't Dig Up, I could take advantage of the high surface spawn rates to make a lawnmower-powered meat grinder, for monster lasagna, souls of night, and a bloody spine. I gradually refined it over time and used 10x spawn rates a couple times since I was on stream and didn't want to have it take forever. The lawnmower does have piercing within its hitbox, so it's actually not that bad at doing stuff like this. Knockback is, at this point, too big of an issue to ignore. Dealing damage to bosses is extremely annoying, so I desperately want knockback immunity. Minecart tracks are too clunky, and gladiator armor is a colossal pain to farm, so I came up with something new. By spawning a bunch of enemies, in this case servants of Cthulhu, you can prevent dungeon guardians from spawning entirely. For more details, go watch this video, but that let me get a cobalt shield pre-Skeletron. Challenges like this lead to a lot of situations like that, where I'm faced with a unique challenge and have to find a way to overcome it. The lawnmower is almost unusable without knockback immunity, and I hate farming gladiator armor. I needed to find a way into the dungeon, so I did. Now that I have knockback immunity, I can actually fight things. I do goblins next, and they certainly weren't easy given that this is still on master mode, but a basic trap let me kill them relatively safely. Molten armor would be a fantastic upgrade, so the brain is up next. Unfortunately, broken armor shreds through tank builds, and the brain's phase 2 is very difficult with the lawnmower. The lawnmower is completely incapable of attacking upwards, nor is it really able to keep the brain stun locked since you have to walk towards it to deal damage. And once the brain gets 3 fully opaque clones, it gets rough. Not only did I run out of potions, I also had to deal with broken armor, confusion, and cursed, which was just too much for me to handle at first. The attempt was only an hour long, so I didn't lose too much time. I did get enough tissue samples for a Deathbringer pickaxe, which means I get to bust out my secret weapon against the brain of Cthulhu, the Imp Staff, but not for the reason you might be thinking. I didn't actually summon any imps, it was just the easiest summoning weapon for me to obtain. I used the right click to target the brain to allow me to see which is the real one during the clone phase. Combined with some
There's
extra
no way
speed
on
for
this planet
imaginary
Earth that you're
lessons,
sending me
let scrape
Instagram
by,
memes
although
while
it
I'm
was a
streaming.
bit too close for comfort. King Slime was just a slow fight of running into him, taking and dealing damage, and then running off.
Woman, I'm live.
Queen Bee, on the other hand, was immensely difficult. Not only does she spend most of her time above you, she gets increased defense over the course of the fight. I started fighting her in the hive, but then decided it'd be faster just to enrage her and do it at home since she dashes more frequently. It took around 3 hours, so I just found a setup to do it AFK and read some stories out of an anthology of H.P. Lovecraft's works that I have. This right here is pretty much peak lawnmower performance. It doesn't get better than this. Deerclops has low defense, doesn't move, is easily tanked, and only took about 15 minutes, a blink of an eye compared to some
Who is
bosses.
who in it?
But in keeping with tradition, we go from an easy boss to an absolute
I just fucking sent it to you
jackass.
because I thought it was cute. I
Skeletron
don't
is one
know.
of the worst fights in the game. It's got
I don't
nothing to do
think
with
about
damage
it too
or
hard.
difficulty.
Oh man, I don't
Even
think about
difficult
things
staying
like
alive.
to that
No,
extent.
This motherfucker divides by 0 and just blinks out of existence. You know, maybe it was some fluke. Maybe it was a weird glitch that happens 1 in a million.
Did you just
Fill
say
my hands with the
felt?
lawnmower again, and it takes about an hour. And no, I did it again. After a lot of testing, people looking into the code and looking at bug reports on the forums, I figured out what causes it. Skeletron's speed is calculated based on his distance from you. If the game calculates that distance as 0, he just disappears. Normally, you don't have knockback immunity before Skeletron, and you don't intentionally put yourself inside of his skull repeatedly, so it would be super unlikely for this to ever happen. Terraria being a glitchy mess is nothing new though, and it certainly isn't going to stop me. I found that standing still up against a block seems to let me attack him without him despawning. I used Lucy to kill his hands this time because I wasn't spending another hour on that.
What you
Thank
know
God
about
I'm with the honey.
Terraria?
I
Fucking
took
nothing,
huge
bitch.
amounts of damage, but it was sustainable. It was working. It was what the fuck? Why? Why, Skeletron? I'm done. I'm just gonna use Lucy to get him back to 4,146 HP. I don't care. If you don't like it, go do it yourself. I'm just... What the fuck? I got him back with the axe, hit him a bit with the lawnmower, whatever, it's dead now. That leaves only a single pre-hard mode boss left, and this is why we're on journey mode. Up until this point, I killed all of these bosses on master mode, but it is completely impossible to kill the wall of flesh with a lawnmower on master mode, or even expert mode for that matter. Journey mode lets me play on a difficulty higher than classic for everything except the wall of flesh. It was the only boss that I had to fight on classic. If I wasn't on journey, I would have to do everything else on classic difficulty, and that's just boring. I had to landscape the entire underworld into a perfect arena, play very well, and that still wasn't enough. The wall dealt too much damage. I needed to find a way to recover HP faster than the game normally permits.
So what am I doing now?
Hut statues have a cooldown of 10 seconds.
Oh
between
yeah,
uses,
snow
but that
biome.
cooldown is tied to the block that it's placed on. If you destroy the hut statue,
That
and
was
then put it
that
back
was a
down, it
long
different
ass
spawn.
time ago,
It
mate,
resets
and
your
I did
cooldown.
find the Sky
This
Islands
is
the
the only
same
time-limited
fucking
fight,
like
and I
within 20
barely
minutes
got
of
by.
not being
About
able to
80%
find
of
them.
the
They were
world
just
was
all
lost.
clumped up in the same
Unfortunately,
place.
since
if you
the rest of
remember.
the game is going to be on expert mode and we killed the wall of flesh on classic, that means I am permanently down an accessory slot because I never got
Mate,
a
I'm literally
I went ahead and
like
fished up
not
hard
fully
mode cores to avoid
conscious
letting pirates
like
spawn. I tried doing
for
flimsy
24
fishing to get
hours
silver
out of the
knight from
fucking
crates,
day
but the rate of
for
getting souls is absolutely awful.
since I had my
So, I
fucking
upgraded my meat
surgery.
grinder for hard
Alright.
mode, making a pit to trap wraiths and floaty growths. And
I
for
wanna
the sake of
fucking
time,
hear
I
it.
went ahead and bumped up some spawn rates after a while on stream. These souls of night are extremely important because they are necessary
I feel like
to
I'm
get flesh
throw
knuckles.
up all the
This
time.
is the part
Fucking
where the
sucks.
don't dig up seed really sucks because I can't just drop the mimics in lava to kill them. I had to find a different way of killing them.
I
So
feel
did.
like if I took
I
the
used
ability for you
Dryad
to
because her
like
damage over time debuff does not activate mimics.
if I took
a
the
bit of
ability
time,
for
but I
you to be
eventually
able to
got
like
Holy Knuckles.
hum to yourself,
Despite the
I
massive
genuinely
HP
think
pool,
that
the
you would
Destroyer is
like
the easiest of
stop
the mech
functioning
bosses
as a
to kill
human
with the
being.
lawnmower. It's consistently damageable and quite tankable. Between the titanium mask, frost armor,
You do it
flesh
all the
knuckles, a berserker
time.
glove, a bass statue, and all of my accessories reforged to warding, I had 110 defense, and 110 defense goes a very long way, but who needs
Oh, ice
defense?
skates.
If you and your opponent aren't both at 1 HP, did you really kill him? A 6-hour-long boss fight might seem like a lot, but it's gonna get a lot worse than that. Skeletron Prime was the first boss fight that took multiple days. His AI operates on the same calculation as normal Skeletron, so if his skull is on top of me, the same despawning glitch could happen. But I learned from Skeletron. I'm not going to move at all, and I'm going to avoid letting his skull spin on top of me. I can use teleporters to place me on his skull when he isn't spinning, and I can use the teleporters to dodge when he is. I have a multi-tiered teleporter setup. When he isn't spinning, I can teleport up and then keep going up with the other teleporters to chase him. When he is spinning, I can teleport between the top and bottom teleporters and keep him locked in the middle. It's not perfect, but it avoids the despawning, which is the most important part. Okay, well that wasn't entirely true. I got impatient after a while because the damage really sucked, and I can tank his spinning skull for a lot of extra damage, and it seems like as long as I'm not moving, he won't despawn. I don't deal any damage to the hands, but that's fine. I can just whittle down the... Wow, would you look at that? Skeletron's at 21,879 HP. He's really not that difficult to survive, and I can easily fix your game. Relogic, please. I can't do this shit. This is why I used Lucy to get Skeletron Prime back to the health he was at each time he despawned. Even if I did it with the lawnmower, he would have just despawned before I got back there. It doesn't even feel satisfying to kill him at this point, but at least I will never have to deal with another Skeletron over the course of this challenge. The twins might be a huge pain to hit with the lawnmower, but at least they actually stick around for the whole fight. I have to use teleporters again to hit them, and I do actually deal more than 1 damage a hit against their first phase due to them having low defense. I just AFK'd the first phase and read more Lovecraft. I have a staggered teleporter setup that lets me keep pace with Spasmatism as he moves in phase 2 since he stays horizontal to me. That won't work for Retinazer though. Retinazer stays above you and never dashes at you in phase 2. He's a lot more like Skeletron in that sense. In fact, the same setup works for Retinazer. I teleport up on top of him and then back, except there's no risk of dying since Retinazer can't shoot me and doesn't
do what
much
you want,
contact
man.
damage.
It's
It's
fun.
uneventful, but that's what reading Lovecraft is for. It only took 12 hours. There really isn't that much upgrading to do before Plantera. I got Life Fruit and a Hollowed Mask a while ago, and I used Fin Wings as my wings throughout the entire game. Farming tortoises was slow,
I'll kick
but
you from
not
the
too
call if
difficult
you
because
if
they
you're
can be
too
easily
loud.
trapped. I did have to build an arena though, and I flooded the floor with honey because honey disables enemy spawns if it's sufficiently deep. I could fight phase 1 completely AFK and naturally read more Lovecraft while doing that. Not her second phase though. Plantera has low defense, so I do more than 1 damage, but she makes up for that with some serious offensive capabilities. I have to alternate dodging and sitting still tanking her, and as she speeds up near death, it gets a bit dicey. Her low HP and low defense means she doesn't take too long to kill though, clocking in at only about 3.5 hours. Plantera opened up the hard mode dungeon, and with it, the Paladin Shield, and I want 2 of them. I made an artificial dungeon at spawn and a small area to trap paladins, but dark casters were making it a lot more annoying than it needed to be. I used the lifeform analyzer to detect when paladins arrived, and then, slowly but surely, grinded their face into the spinning blade of the mower. I also made a pixie trap to get greater healing potions. I put Plantera's arena right below the temple so I could just drop Golem into it, and using a minecart track I could position myself on his head and deal pretty good damage, all things considered. Good enough that I decided I could just AFK the fight, and that was a mistake. I'm not entirely sure how, but a tortoise got in and killed me and I had to restart the fight. Unlike when the game bugged out and despawned Skeletron, this was entirely my fault. I'm not going to use another weapon to get the boss back to the same HP if I just made a mistake. So it was back to lawnmowering for hours, and with no more interruptions, Golem died unceremoniously. He's a very tankable boss. I anticipated the Moonlord taking an extremely long time, so I decided not to do Duke Fishron or the Empress. Neither one is particularly interesting, it would just be sitting mostly still and tanking them for a long period of time, nor do I need any loot from them. That means just the robed boy between me and the pillars. On the bright side, he doesn't do too much damage or have that much HP. On the not so bright side, his clone attack is extremely difficult to deal with the lawnmower. Remember, I cannot attack anywhere except directly horizontal to me, and the cultist hovers above me by default. I built a simple device to teleport me next to the cultist and then manually went out to attack the clones whenever they appeared. This might not seem too bad, but remember, if I make a single mistake during the clone phase, I am dead. I cannot deal with a phantasmal dragon. If I linger too long on the top teleporter or position myself even a block out of place, I lose. That makes this a very high stakes fight, and I did fail a few times, but in the end, my patience proved victorious. The true test of patience and perseverance comes after the cultist though. I need to kill all 4 pillars with 100 enemies each and a 20,000 HP pillar floating in midair, and then do the Moonlord on top of that. All of this is on expert, remember, and since this is on don't dig up, I can't use lava like I did for the flare gun and copper shortsword. The vortex and stardust pillars can be farmed by taking a single queen or stardust cell and making an area to farm the additional enemies they spawn. Those two aren't too bad, and by putting a 1-block hole above you, you can protect yourself from the laser beam portals in the vortex pillar. The stardust pillar isn't quite as easy, and I had to set my spawn and repeatedly die to kill it. They still took hours. Easy is a relative term. For the solar pillar, I made a pit in the ground and kept teleporting away until there were no Corvites spawned in, and then I trapped and killed the enemies since they can't attack through walls. The nebula pillar though, the nebula pillar was hell. I made a trap to kill predictors because pretty much every other nebula enemy was impossible to kill. I would respawn, walk to the right, hit the predictors a few times, and then die and respawn. Gradually, they would die, and I lowered the nebula pillar shields and killed it like the other ones. There are some people who believe the Moonlord is impossible to kill with low damage weapons, that the Moonlord's self-healing mechanic is unavoidable, and therefore it simply isn't possible. Those people are wrong. I don't know where this belief originated, but it is simply not correct, and reflects a surface-level understanding of the Moonlord's AI. The Moonlord's healing is tied to the Moonbite debuff, which he inflicts with his tongue-mouth thing. If the tongue hits you, it inflicts the debuff for 15 seconds. If you have the debuff, and you're near his tongue, while it's out, the tongue will spawn leeches that fly back to him and heal him for 1000 HP if they make it alive. That mechanic has a lot of points of failure. If you avoid the tongue hitting you, you never get the debuff. That's what I did during Copper Shortsword and Flare Gun only. If the tongue does hit you, you can cure the debuff with a nurse. This was a popular strategy in 1.3, but it isn't really feasible anymore due to having increased prices. You can also just kill the leeches. That's what you do when you're playing normally. They only have 400 HP. Projectile and NPC limit exploits also let you avoid it. I didn't do any of those things here. Like I said, the leeches only spawn if you are near the tongue. The tongue is separate from the Moonlord. Unlike the True Eyes, it does not teleport with him. By setting up 2 teleporters a long distance apart, I can teleport away when the tongue spawns and then teleport back. The leeches also despawn when you get far enough away. Even if one were to spawn, I just have to teleport away before it reaches him. Preventing his healing is not a strategy for killing him though. It is the bare minimum requirement for it to be theoretically possible. I took some measurements of where the Moonlord's hitboxes are and then got to work setting up teleporters. Through these teleporters, I can reach his eyes and kill him painfully slowly. His hands are very annoying to try to hit consistently. They move all over the place, close periodically, and have 37,000 hit points each. I wasn't measuring damage per second or even per minute, I was measuring damage per hour. At first it was around 1,000, and then by learning how to manipulate his AI, I increased that to around 1,700 an hour. Keep in mind, he has 75,000 HP on those hands collectively. While doing that damage, I have to micromanage my position to put his hands in a position I can hit them in while also avoiding his healing and staying alive. His death ray damage is still quite considerable even with an optimized tank setup. I did not kill the hands, I put them at a low HP and then went to work on the top eye before finishing them off. Thankfully, the top eye remains in a consistent location, making my damage against it much better than the hands. My damage was, quite frankly, incredible, over 3,000 an hour. Once it was near death though, the highest stakes challenge of all had come. True Eyes of Cthulhu have serious damage potential. I doubted my ability to survive all 3 of them if they were released normally, even with the blocks blocking the death rays. If I synchronized their attack cycles though, it would be like only a single True Eye was released because they would all attack me at the same time and only one would deal damage to me. 3 eyes, 80 frames of wiggle room, and 1 shot. 70 hours into the fight and the most difficult challenge of all still had not come to pass. If I mess up, I can do nothing to fix it. If I can't survive them, I would have to restart. I didn't do any testing, nor had I ever even tried to synchronize their attack cycles before in any run. I don't know the timing, and the windows of time in which I can deal damage are far from generous. The cycle starts just after the sphere attack that follows the death ray. I start with the right hand, the left follows, and I line up their timings well. The first eye will hit me, and the second will hit during the iframes from the first. I wait for the timings to line up, looking for the death ray and ensuing attack. Death ray. Spheres. I go in for the kill, but this eye's cycle is delayed, late. It isn't in sync with the others, but I just barely managed to fit it within the timing window. If I sit still with the cross necklace, only a single one of the attacks will hit me. The final stretch. 75,000 HP to be dealt, with the tongue being sent out twice as often, and the True Eyes of Cthulhu that are considerably more dangerous than its first phase. I set up the teleporter to reach his core and put a second teleporter with the one far away. I stay at each teleporter for about 10 seconds, then swap to the other one once the tongue comes out. I can't actually see the tongue, so I use the time remaining on the debuff to let me know when it's been released. I'm using Smart Cursor with switches. The left switch takes me up and down between teleporters, while the right switch takes me to the distant teleporter. I move my mouse between the left and right side of the screen and manually click for every teleport. None of this fight was done with a macro. I pressed every single button. And every single button brought me closer and closer, inch by inch, mile by mile. 89 hours. That is how long I spent fighting the Moon Lord. For 3 weeks straight, I did nothing but stream fighting the Moon Lord. In time, the gods came to fall. In their place stood the reviled and despised, the hopelessly incompetent, belittled since its inception. In time, the lawnmower alone stood triumphant, where none dared to follow it. Also, I finally made a Patreon, link down in the description. As of right now, it has the NSFW games video on it, since that got taken down from YouTube, and when I make audiobooks for some of Lovecraft's stories, they'll be out there much earlier than they're on YouTube. But, for now, I am dead inside. Have any of you ever had an original thought in your life? Why the hell would I... Oh. Huh. So, let's kick this off with some general clarifications because the title is very confusing and difficult to understand. Copper Short Sword only means Copper Short Sword only. No, actually, now that I put it like that, it doesn't sound that complicated at all. I don't know why so many people had trouble understanding that. If it isn't a copper short sword, and it deals damage, I'm not using it. It doesn't matter if it's a damage over time effect, an accessory, an armor ability, or a contracted mercenary vessel in the Mediterranean Sea. I made a Journey Mode character and world because I had to, but I didn't have any intention of using Journey Mode powers except for what was absolutely necessary to beat the game. Okay, that might have been a little bit of a lie. I did keep 10x spawns on for quite a while. I also made this a drunk seed for quicker access to an extremely important item that's necessary to beat the game. That item being the copper short sword. You might notice there's a slight problem here. I don't have one because you don't spawn with one in Journey Mode. So step 1 is finding copper and some iron or lead for an anvil. I find some copper in a chest pretty quickly, and then I get some lead from living trees. It's a little bit crowded, but I make my way through without a weapon easily enough and unlock my true power. And now, things get intense. Adrenaline is surging through my veins, rage and anger, unparalleled, and... This is hitting oh, there's 2 gnomes there, that's why it's hitting twice. Okay, well there's a pinky, and I'd like it dead. Easier said than done on Master Mode, though. I craft a foolproof plan and trap Pinky in a box. Okay, fine, I load it out of the box. I didn't even really want it in there anyway. It's isolated, and I can just... Okay, Pinky is just hacking at this point. Whatever, it's dying. It's dead. No, fish, bad fish. House time. You can get up here, right? And now it's jungle time. I need to be here. I need 2 things. Feral Claws and a sharpening station. That'll give me auto swing on the short sword and 12 points of defense penetration, so, you know, I do more than 1 damage a hit. Unfortunately, 10x spawns in the jungle with a barely functional weapon, 100 HP, and no defense is a little bit tricky. I couldn't get much loot, so I head back and I upgrade my house a bit. Thankfully, I am an expert at building, and I can quickly put together a beautiful house amidst the trees, towering high into the night sky. I get some HP underground and I go to the jungle, and I spend like the next 5 hours looking for a sharpening station. It's a large world and a massive jungle, but I just can't find one. While I'm searching, I get to 400 HP and I go to the underground desert for a while to get mining potions and a chisel. I finally find a sharpening station and prepare to fight the Eye. Now you might be wondering, am I gonna have to pause time for the Eye? I am on Master Mode after all, and the answer is a resounding hell no! The Copper Short Sword is not bad at all. It can easily kill the Eye in 9 minutes, as long as you've got the armor penetration from the sharpening station. It is quite a powerful weapon in the early and mid-game. It's only once you get to enemies that have 50 plus defense that it really falls off and starts taking dozens of hours to kill things. Trust me, I've beaten the game with a flare gun, and the Copper Short Sword grossly outperforms the flare gun at every point except for the very end of the game. And that brings me to my next point. The problem with the copper short sword is not the damage. The damage is fine. It's actually pretty damn good in comparison to other weak weapons like the flare gun and paper airplanes. The problem is 100% the range, and it is a huge problem. You cannot fight things with a copper short sword and not take damage, at least not without an incredible amount of difficulty. You have to get hit to deal damage. You can't just fly around and dodge indefinitely. That is the difficult part, and that is why I have a full tank build. For the Eye of Cthulhu, I already have 42 defense, and that's still not really enough to tank comfortably in Master Mode. Remember, I don't need to take a couple hits, I need to be able to survive pretty much indefinitely. But the eye dies, and now it's killing time. All of this is on Master Mode, remember, and none of these are using Journey Mode powers. I head to the Corruption, break an orb, and wait for some goblins.
Hello.
In the meantime, back to the Underground Desert. Again, Copper
Welcome
Short
to
Sword
the
is not bad
stream.
damage. This is effective. It's got
We're just
knockback, speed, damage.
chilling.
The only thing it
I'm
doesn't
trying to
have
gather
is
the
range.
materials
Goblins finally show up, goblins die,
in
and I get the
order
ability
to
reforge my
be
accessories
able
rewarding, and I
to
maximize my
make
defense. I also unlock the legendary Copper
the
Short Sword,
deer
the ultimate
clops
weapon that I will wield for the
summon.
next 120 hours.
So that's what we're doing
Okay, well,
right now.
I need more houses for the goblin, so I make a resort in the oasis. The Eater is up next, and thankfully he is extremely easy to face tank, and I just sit on top of... Okay, well, I upgrade to molten armor for a little more defense first, and then I face tank him. Now he's dead. It's mostly just dealing with a bunch of mouths from the Eater that was difficult. 60 defense goes a long way, though. The Brain is up next. I make a suitable arena, although increased spawn rate blood crawlers are not the easiest thing to deal with. I'm not on 10x spawns anymore, but they're still bumped up a little bit. The Brain's first phase is pretty tricky due to all the debuffs. Broken armor is quite annoying, but he dies without too much trouble once I get him to phase 2. I make a mountaintop ski resort for a few more NPCs and prepare to fight Deerclops. I got to learn a few fun things about Deerclops during this fight, including...
I'm so confused about the spawn conditions for the flanks.
Well, he's dead. B time! In keeping with tradition, I'm going to fight her enraged on the surface, and that might have been a little bit of a mistake, and goblins quickly decided to show
Are you
up.
playing
It
a
took
certain
quite while, but
class?
eventually Queen Bee got
I think
in
I'm
some
probably
some
gonna go with
goblins and finished
Ranger
it
like
off.
I
I
always
had
do,
dipped into
just
the
because like
rainforest
that's
and
like
listed
my
an Airbnb there for some extra cash
that's
and
my
upgrade
bread
my
and
weapon.
butter. That's
Now
what
that
I
Queen Bee is
know.
dead, the most powerful upgrade I'll have is available.
So yeah,
From the Witch Doctor,
that's what
I can
I'm
buy imbuing flasks, and I can
what I'm
finally
working
shower the
with
world
at
in
the
confetti.
moment.
We're getting on the pony train, and the first
Still in
stop is
pre-hard
Kingslime,
mode, so
who is not a very notable
just trying to
class
kind
in
of do
Bash, but
everything
respectable.
before progressing to
And now
hard
we're at
mode
Skeletron, and
instead of like
things are a bit
speedrunning.
tricky. Unfortunately, I do not have the
I'm
damage
trying to
kill
like
him before
experience
daytime with a
everything
copper
that you
short
can
sword on Master
experience.
Mode. So what the hell do? Do I pause time? Do I use an imbuing flask or a magma stone to deal more damage to kill him at night? Do I lower the difficulty? Hell no, we're hoiking this bitch. I kill his hands and I drop him down to 5k HP at night thanks to a few falling stars, and I get him inside of a hoik loop. From here, he cannot kill me, and I slowly whittle him down. I needed to use a massive copper short sword and not a legendary one because, genuinely, the like one extra pixel from a massive sword was the difference between being able to hit him and not being able to hit him. I do use a flask of fire during the day, and it's the only time I use a damage over time effect flask for the entire
God, I really
game,
wish that
because I
they
did
had
this
the
on stream and I
seasonal
want to
stuff
spend
in the
20
PC
hours in a
version
hoik
of the
loop killing
game
him.
for
But
mobile.
Skeletron finally dies. I get some loot from
I
the
know that I
dungeon,
could play
notably a
T-Mod
cobalt shield,
loader
and I
because
take
it's
out
like
the
up
wall
to
of
date
flesh.
with the current version of
Unfortunately,
Terraria,
I
but
didn't
I
think
don't
it was
like playing
possible
with
to kill the wall of
mods.
flesh on any
I don't think my
difficulty above
resource
classic
packs
with a
would
copper
be
short
like
sword and 3 hard mode
compatible
here.
either.
That means that we don't have a demon heart. Well, that's a problem that I'll solve later. It's hard mode now, and I start with upgrading my armor and accessories. I get full adamantite and some ichor. Ichor flasks are one of the only ones that don't deal damage over time, so I can actually use them. It won't help against the Destroyer, though, and that's who we're fighting first. For the mechanical bosses, I have to pause time for them to be possible, which means I can keep going back and forth between spawn and the ocean to kill the Destroyer. From this point forward, I'm fighting every boss on
Oh,
expert mode,
the
not
mining
master.
shit. I have.
The
I
probes
should
are
have the
biggest
full
issue,
set
and once
now.
they're all dead, I can whittle down the worm itself. I stopped to do some fishing for wrath potions because the extra
Go
damage
away.
was actually relevant here, and game crashed.
Mining.
Okay, well this is a good point to mention this. If the game crashes, or if I lose power, or something similar,
Ferris
I'm not going to restart
exploring at the beginning of hard mode
for the
starts.
Destroyer. I
Yeah.
just came back the next day and got him to the HP value that he was at with the probes gone, using my axe and the pickaxe,
Alright.
and then I picked
Where's
up the fight
the
from there.
button to change?
This is the part where
There
I
you go.
insert that line about
Boom,
filing a
boom,
complaint,
boom.
but I've already made that joke like 3 times. The Destroyer
Boom.
dies, and I move on to the Twins. Now, there's a bug with Ichor that gives enemies negative
Does the
defense when
ultra
you
bright
combine it with
helmet
damage
work
defense
with the
penetration.
mining
This is
outfit?
most notable when you use the blade staff, but it also happens with melee weapons in a sharpening station. As a result, I actually deal
Let's
extra
see.
damage to the Twins in phase
Do
1.
I still get the set
Phase
bonus?
1 is easy.
I
I
still
need to
get
figure
the
out
set
how to
bonus.
survive
That's
spasm in
awesome.
phase 2, because this is not
Okay.
working. I rethink things and get some
Oh yeah, I
different
need to like
accessories.
re-get my
Defense, get a
accessories
cross
too.
necklace, and finally get a demon heart. It takes most of a large-sized world covered in asphalt, a mountain of defense, and a huge amount of HP regen, but I finally
They
take out the
froze
wall of flesh
me.
on expert mode and get back to the Twins. It's very tricky. Spasmatism does a
Okay,
lot of
so
damage,
I
and Cursed
want,
Flames doesn't care about my defense at all. I don't use the nurse
for
at all during
mining,
any of the
I
bosses
want
in this
the
run. She
tool
was just
belt,
nearby,
go
but I
away.
managed to get through
The
spasmatism
cement
and take out that
mixer,
laser next.
the extendo
I also
grip,
upgrade my wings by hunting some moths, although it wasn't the fastest to
the
do.
shark run balloon with the
Moth.
horseshoe. I don't think I researched the
Moth.
like combined version of that.
Moth.
And I guess I didn't do that for
Moth.
Spectre boots, the Frostwork boots either, so... Let
With the
me
two
do
older
that.
siblings gone, I
Get
pick on
the
the youngest and
Tinkerer's
weakest of
Workshop.
the mechanical bosses. Skeletron Prime is not remotely
Boop.
threatening. I stay right on top of him all the time, and he does next to no damage. He dies
Pink
in about 45
Horseshoe.
minutes.
Yeah,
For
I
comparison,
didn't
the twins
research
were about
either
an
of
hour and
these.
a half, and the Destroyer about 5 hours.
Boom,
I build
boom.
an arena for Plantera and take her out next. I use lava on the floor to disable enemy spawns and face
Frostwork
tank her in
boots.
phase 1. Her contact damage is not enough to be a threat
And
yet,
the
and I alternate
balloon
taking
with
damage and
the...
running away
there.
to regenerate health. Now, phase 2 is when things get a little bit dicey. She hits a lot harder, and I have to alternate
1,
attacking
2,
and healing
3,
a lot more.
4, 5.
Thankfully, her defense drops down quite a lot, and I
Okay.
slaughter the plant. I switch my armor up a
I
bit,
need my
incorporating
vanity
total
set
armor and
too.
a hollowed mask for more defense, and then I take out Golem. He's struggling. I
So
take
need
out the hands and then the head,
ears.
and then nobody believed me. When I was beating the game with a flare gun, nobody believed me. I kept mentioning that Golem would take lava damage, and nobody believed me. I wasn't even trying to use lava to kill him. I just happened to bring him into
ears.
Plantera's arena, but nobody believed me. I don't care what the wiki says. I told you, Golem takes lava
The
damage.
cowboy outfit.
Well, he's dead. I get a sunstone and a picksaw, and now the real challenge begins. Up to this point has only taken a little over
Boom,
40
boom,
hours. The
boom.
next 4 bosses will take 90
We bring
hours.
the boom.
90 hours in addition to the 40, not combined with it. And the first of these 4 bosses is Duke Fishron. And holy hell, Duke Fishron is a difficult boss. Genuinely, I think he was the single most challenging boss in the game that I had to kill with a copper short
So
sword.
now
He took the second longest, and that's mostly just because I got lucky with some
I
fire
should be
stoves.
able to mine really fast.
So what makes Duke Fishron
What?
such a challenge? There are 3
Oh,
things.
I'm on
Firstly, he has a ton of defense. Secondly,
Yeah.
he takes a ton of damage. Thirdly, he is
Look at how
extremely
fast
aggressive.
I'm mining.
I made an ocean arena, loaded up on iron skin and regen potions, and
I
got
need
things
to
started.
equip
The
the...
thing is, I didn't get an Ankh shield, and I really should have. I had to deal with confusion, cursed, and a lot of other debuffs that made the fight a lot more difficult than it
Cowboy.
needed to be. I spent 4 days on Fishron,
And
pausing
the
the game each
lizard
night and
ears.
unpausing the next morning. Once we hit
Boop,
phase
boop,
2,
boop.
Fishron's defense
There you
drops to
go.
40, and my damage goes up.
And then turn
But
off
his damage also
all
goes
of
way, way up.
the...
The stakes get high, but the falling stars do me
There
a
you go.
favor, and I get him to phase 3. And it's here that things get serious. I am tired. I have been fighting him for hours and for days, but I can't let exhaustion overwhelm me. I can't slip up at all, or I've got dozens of hours of work to get back here. Fishron gets close to killing me, but I stabilize and I cut him
Did I
down.
get enough?
I'm
I
barely
got
dodging
enough,
his
okay.
dashes intentionally because I need to get extremely close to get him within range of my short sword without getting hit. His defense drops to 0, but his attacks are relentless. Like I said, the range is the issue. I have to get right next to Fishron, and he will hit me sometimes. I can't just dodge like you would with a weapon that has more range. But after about 26 hours, he dies, and I get my prize, the Shrimpy Truffle. Learning from Duke Fishron, I prepared a lot more for the Empress. I get a
What does the
frozen shield and a
Viking
hero
helmet
shield,
look
and
like
following
on
the
me?
dungeon was a mess that I did off-stream, a celestial shell, and a ton of bacon. I make an
Silly.
arena in the hollow, and I pause time at night in the rain. I decided that having time unpaused
Alright,
would be
I
extremely
think,
boring because I'd have to spend most of the time dodging and unable to attack, and that would make the fight drag on for a rather absurd length of time. Since time is paused, the rain won't stop, and I can chase her on the truffle indefinitely. She does very little contact damage, and all I have to do
Well, I
is
have
stay on
some
top of her.
things on
It's
Discord.
difficult though because she's extremely evasive. Her second phase actually gets much easier because she doesn't dodge nearly as well, and I can stay on top of her for a longer period of time. She dies after about 15 or 16 hours, and I move straight onto the cultist. His first phase is quite slow, and although he isn't dangerous, he's immune to all debuffs, and I can't cut through his defense without Ichor. I flooded the area with water to use the truffle, and I cut him down. Once he gets to phase 2, his defense drops enough for me to deal more than 1 damage a hit.
Whoa,
and
it's
he
the
dies shortly
science
after.
team!
I did spawn a Phantasm Dragon intentionally, though, just to give him a fighting chance. And the pillars, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I
Counterweight.
make some pools of lava and jump into them to kill the enemies, and then I cut down the pillars. Well,
Whoa.
I prepared for the Moon Lord in the same way as the cultist, flooding the entire world. Except for after about half an hour this happened, and I had to rework my entire arena, and because I was streaming this, I went ahead and just did it in T-Edit to save time. I went to a backup save that was not flooded, put in some campfires and heart lanterns, and I got back the chest full of potions and other things.
Compass, I need
Unfortunately, in
that.
doing this, I lost my teleporter setup, and I also lost my magic conch, and that's gonna be a problem later. But for now, I use Journey mode to set it to rain permanently as an effective replacement for the flooded world.
How many more
The alternative would have
updates
been
you think
putting
the
water
game's gonna
pockets
have?
and bubble blocks
I think
everywhere,
they're
which
gonna
meant I
make
would have had to wait
Terraria
another week to
forever.
kill the Moon Lord because I would have had to build the arena. When fighting the Moon Lord with low damage, the only thing that's important is
I
avoiding
know if
his
you
healing.
craft it
If you
with
didn't know, the Moon
silt,
Lord has a very potent self-healing
you
mechanic.
can make,
It's tied to the Moonbite debuff that he inflicts with his tongue. In order to avoid the healing, you need to avoid the debuff or kill the
You can
400 HP
make,
leeches. For obvious reasons, I can't do that one, which means my options are preventing the tongue from
something
spawning in the
or
first place
other.
with an exploit, curing the debuff, or dodging the tongue. The first 2 options are just cheesing the boss, so we're doing the
Limb.
latter because it's actually difficult. I've seen plenty of people do the first 2 ways, and I'm doing it this way because I think this is how it should be done,
Robe?
but nobody seems to ever do it this way. The tongue travels at about 83 miles per
No?
hour, and I'm using the shrimpy truffle in the rain to outpace it. This is by no means the only option to move this
That's not
fast.
how you
It's
make
just the one that I'm
the
using.
robe?
In phase 1, dodging the tongue is pretty easy.
Alright, let's go home and ask the guide, because I don't know what I'm doing with this new gen
The
terraria
top eyes
stuff.
using in a kitchen has 50 defense, so that's a bit trickier. I have to whittle it down with 1 damage hits. It
Guide.
takes a while, but I finally get
How
it
do
down
I
to phase 2.
make
And now is the difficult
things?
part. The main issue is that in phase 2, the Moonlord's tongue starts
Platinum?
going out on a 5-second
Platinum. Okay,
cooldown
I need
instead of a
platinum.
15-second cooldown.
Okay,
And
platinum.
that gives me an
Do I
extremely
have gold
narrow
or
window of
platinum?
opportunity to
Gold?
attack and
I
let
do
me
have
heal
gold
and
in this
erase a
world,
lot of
okay.
progress. I need to go right
I
next
should
to where
put
the
an
tongue comes out
anvil
to deal damage.
and,
Again, this is why I said the
I should
difficult part
put-
was the range,
yeah,
not
I'll
the
put
damage.
an
A ranged weapon
anvil
doesn't have to worry about that because it can just
and
stay
a
far
hell
away.
forge.
In less than 5 seconds, I need to recognize when
And
the tongue is going back,
I already have a
go
Tinker's
in,
Workshop.
hit it a few times, get out, fly away, and then do
Here
that
we
repeatedly.
go.
While doing this, I have to also
And I'm pretty
survive
sure I
the
need to
True
do
Eyes
it
of
at
Cthulhu, and I
Illume,
can't
so
afford to
I'm
mess up
stupid.
at all. A single tongue hit in phase 2 can heal
Illume.
him for up to 6,000 hit points.
Here
Also,
we go.
there's another
Flinks
part of this
fur
fight that many
coat.
people seem to misunderstand.
How
No,
do I make the
Moonlord's True
staff
Eyes of
if
Cthulhu
it's
will
not?
automatically despawn. If you've seen
It
other
was
people fight
Flinks
the
fur
Moonlord
and
with low
something
damage, you may
else.
have noticed that happen. Now, I'm
I'm
not certain on the
stupid.
exact mechanics of why. It's either a result of the eyes being off-screen or the result of
Flinks
the teleport.
fur.
But the reason the eyes despawn during other people's
Workbench.
fights is because they were using one of the other
There we
strategies I
go.
mentioned before, healing with the nurse or using an exploit that allowed them to sit still and keep the eyes
17
on screen,
versus
after which
6.
they eventually despawned. That is not what I did, so that is not what happened.
However,
It takes me a while to get down a consistent strategy, and the first day I fought phase 2, I made
although
almost no
the imp
progress
staff does
whatsoever due to
17,
healing.
this
I
is
had to make an
Mario.
pickaxe to even out some terrain, and also my
And I
axe
think
because
it being
apparently
Mario
that
makes it
pickaxe is
better.
also an axe. I also had to stop reading chat.
Okay.
Looking off screen for even a second
So
was
now I
causing
need to
me
make the
occasionally
Declops
get
thing, and I
tongue
do
and
that
would
at a
make no
demon
progress at
altar,
all.
right?
I could prevent his healing with clever use of teleport since the leeches despawn like regular
Crimson
enemies,
altar.
but
I need
teleporter setup
demonite
and
and
magic poncho are gone because
lenses.
those were in the flooded world.
Alright.
All I have is my magic mirror, and the tiny window to avoid
Nighttime.
his healing is extremely tight using that.
I'll turn it to midnight.
It was a struggle
Enemy
of eldritch
spawn
gods,
rate times
both
10.
existing outside of the bounds of time.
I'll switch to
He
my.
would heal the damage I dealt to him, and my own wounds would close in seconds. He made the game unplayable by dropping the FPS. He crashed my game. I lost power during the fight. None of that was gonna stop me.
Oh no, it's
The
too
Moon Lord
friendly
made one fatal
over
mistake.
here. Not enough.
He thought he could
There's
triumph
too many
over my
friendly
will,
mobs are
and he found
spawning
my body
shit.
unbreakable.
Maybe
An
if
endless
I.
storm raged on, blinding the heavens to our struggle for 6
Maybe if
days.
I. Go
Collectively,
this way.
over 30 hours. But I finally struck the killing blow. The Moon Lord died, and now I had beaten the entire game with only a
Demon
copper
Eye.
short sword. The Demon Eyes freed from their prison
need
at last came to
lenses.
thank me as the world rejoiced in celebration.
Give
It
me
took around
lenses.
130 hours, almost all of which was streamed here on YouTube. I've unlisted most of the streams and put them in a playlist that's linked in the description below.
Come on.
You can still go and watch the streams, and these are the points where I fought each boss. I also have a Discord server now, and I'll put the link to that in the description below. That's where I put announcements about streams and videos, schedules, subscription goals, along with a lot of other miscellaneous things.
And
And
10.
While I may have
Oh,
beaten the
maybe
entire
this
game
for
with a short sword,
forever.
I'm not quite done yet.
I'm fucking with
I
the
intend to fight the
Flinks
daytime
coat, though.
Empress
It's
of Light
very
as well,
cool.
albeit using frost armor, a fire gauntlet, and a flask of venom. Keep an eye out, because I'll be doing that soon. But for now, holy hell, I'm exhausted. Grinding the Moon Lord took a lot of energy out of me. This is goodbye, for now.
Okay, I'm gonna put down the banner here. Where'd the banner go? There's the zombie one. Where's the demon eye one that I just
4
got?
years ago, I went on a journey to beat
There it
Terraria
is.
with a flare gun. I had streamed it on Twitch, and it was my first serious Terraria challenge, and I finished it. It took about 110
Boom.
hours. In the time since, I've beaten the game with a copper short sword and a lawnmower, but that first challenge has always held a special place in my heart. The flare gun, fundamentally, is different from those two weapons, because it allows attacking from a distance. It's the
God,
in-depth
the
information
fucking
like that that makes my
the
videos
star
so
cannon
helpful.
is the
The
best
copper short
weapon
sword
in
and
the whole
lawnmower,
game.
by necessity, are
I
incredibly
don't care
boring
what
to
anyone
use
has
because you
to
have to
say.
build
This
your
is the
character in
it's the
such a way
best
where
in
you
the
can
whole
take
game.
damage constantly and can't really
Ah,
die.
that's Windows
That's
key.
not fun, but with the flare gun, you can
And
actually
I have
interact
10.
with the bosses. Instead of bashing your head into a wall, you're
Alright,
playing
enemy
minigames.
spawner.
And I stopped smashing my head into brick walls for fun back in the 2nd grade.
Alright.
Flare gun only was the only low damage challenge that I found genuinely fun.
Okay.
And with 1.4.4 adding coast flares, I decided it was time to take a trip down memory lane and redo the first major challenge I had ever done, with a few extra twists along the way. Every single boss has an additional stipulation tied to it, and
Crimson
they
ore?
get intense. Only one stipulation
And I
applies at
crafted
a
it
time,
a
and as soon as I
crimson
kill a
altar.
boss, I reveal the next one, which applies until we kill that boss. So, not only are we using a weapon that deals incredibly low damage,
Okay,
we're
I've run
doing
out of
it with
housing, too.
no
I need to start
movement
building more
skills,
houses.
blindfolded, with voice controls, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But we're not starting with any of that. For the Eye of Cthulhu,
It's simple. We can't
Big
have
run.
any defense until we kill the boss. No armor, no accessories with defense reforges, no buffs, no food. We're also setting the difficulty to master mode, which means we can neither fight back nor survive attacks against anything. And we set off to find a flare gun, because we don't have one yet, and we can't progress until we do. I need to trap or avoid enemies, as most will kill me in 2 to 3 hits. It's a gold chest loot, so I'm just browsing the cavern layer. After about an hour, I finally come across one, and the challenge actually starts. The weapon of mass destruction has been unlocked.
Okay.
The flare gun deals 3 classless damage, 2
The
from the
snow
weapon itself
biome
and 1
is
from
after
ammo.
the
Because of
crimson
that, it is
biome, so I won't
completely
magic
pointless to
mirror.
attempt to
I'll
buff the
just
damage of the weapon
bomb
in
my
any
way
way.
out of here.
Classless damage can neither critically hit nor be increased. Even if we had a huge number of damage buffs, it wouldn't affect the flare gun. The only way to actually increase its damage would be to have plus 100% ranged damage bonuses to bring the ammo's damage up to 2, because the ammo isn't classless. But there's a little-known game mechanic called Defense, which is going to reduce both 4 and 3 damage down to 1. There is absolutely
hard mode,
no
so I
reason
can get
to
the key.
ever use damage-boosting armor, reforges, or potions with a flare gun. It's not all doom and gloom, though.
Okay, I need
While
a
the projectile
flat
damage itself
space.
is
Where's
pitiful,
the flattest
flare
part?
gun does light things
Oh,
on
it's
fire,
just a really
and it does
fucking
a pretty
small
damn
one,
good
so...
job at doing that. It's got infinite
Alright, we'll
piercing,
turn it to
long range,
daytime.
and inflicts a guaranteed debuff lasting either 5 or 10
And
seconds.
then
On fire is 4
I'll switch
DPS,
over to
so
my
the flare
builder
gun
class.
is essentially just dealing 4
And then
DPS to enemies.
fucking...
And
Oh,
because
that's so
Relogic dropped
fast.
acid when making 1.4.4, we now have Coast Flares in hard mode, which deal 24 DPS. That's 6 times as much. Those didn't exist when I did it the first time. Compared to the Copper Short Sword and Lawnmower, the flare gun actually deals pretty good damage. I'd say it's the best, worst weapon in the game. Since we can't get any armor and we're already...
Vivid voltage.
Hello? Hi, I'm streaming, but I'm still gonna share Pokemon videos with you. No, well, I'm watching videos while I'm streaming. Basically. So you can see it, right? Okay, so if I minimize... okay, so I can't minimize OBS. Okay. My stream chat. Alright, whatever. No one's watching my stream anyway. It's fine. I'm pretty sure. Oh, one person is. Okay. How about if I do... If I do this. F11, maybe? Whatever. You can see it, right? That's fine?
Or should I keep it sealed?
We got a big boy. Sword and Shield's Vivid Voltage from the year 2020 featuring Chonkachu.
Pikachu,
Thank you,
Chungus,
bro. That is the chase,
Pikachu.
Rainbow Chonkachu. Shall I say, vividly remember this set because in 2020 when
You
my
gonna be
kids and
playing
I got a
Zenless?
box, we opened it and we actually did pull that Rainbow Chonkachu. It was absolutely insane. It was worth $400 back then raw, and the prices come down significantly since. And you know what? Sometimes the cards go up, sometimes they go down. Either way, hoping you're getting your hands on some. If you can't, hopefully they'll print more for us. A couple pieces of trash in this pack. Come on. Amazing rare Jirachi. Okay. I like Jirachi. Let's see what we get in the last pack.
Oh no.
I fuck with Jirachi heavy.
Should have kept it sealed.
Did you know in the Pokemon Diamond and
I was
Pearl
at a card
remix,
shop when I saw a
if
Pokemon
you
tin from
play, if you've got
2014.
save data for Pokemon Sword and Shield, you get a free Jirachi to play the game through with.
For $200. This tin supposedly has some
It was
big
really
packs in it.
cool. And if you played Pokemon Let's
And we're
Go
gonna open it
Pikachu
up
and
and see.
Eevee,
So,
they
first
let
we
you
got
have a
some Furious
Mew to play the
Fists,
game with.
Flash Fire,
So you can play the
and a
game with
black and
Mew
white
and
Plasma
Jirachi
Blast.
on your
These
team.
are a blast from the past for sure. So let's see if we get something good inside. Pack number 1.
Hello.
A Jinx. Okay, that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
Landorus. Okay, 0 for 2, but these are the big boys. Flash Fire featuring Charizard. There's like 7 Charizards you can pull out of this one. And that's a Snorlax. Okay, last pack.
Oh no, you should have kept it sealed.
You know there's people watching you do this, right?
I was at a card show when I found a pack of cards I'd never
The Gen
opened
3
before, so
fossil
I picked it
Pokemon
up
are some
and-
of the most like obscure fossil Pokemon because like you have to really go out of your way to get
Japanese fossil from
them.
1997 for $8.99. I didn't pay that.
Yeah, Gilly-Doo.
Well, I actually paid $160.
Look at this dude.
So, yeah, I'm not going to comment on the name of that first card. If you missed it, go back and check it out. But we seem to be starting a dry run here. We've had some big hits and then all of a sudden nothing. So hopefully we change that up today. There is a guaranteed holo at the end of this pack. And
Look at the
subscribe, follow for
baby.
good luck. And also because episode 200 is coming up really soon. So you're not going to want to miss it. Here we go.
It's one of your babies. That's wheezing.
Wow, you didn't really do too bad.
Blink twice if you need help.
Yeah, we're going to try this again.
Should I open it or should I keep it sealed?
That's
Burning Shadows ETB.
Stop it. Get some help.
I don't even know what
130
that's
bucks,
called.
A notoriously low hit rate set,
Necrozma?
but it's a chance.
Yeah, it's Necrozma, I
for a
think.
Rainbow Charizard GX, which would be amazing in our first pack. Okay, we got a lot of packs
Bruxish,
here.
that's the one
8
that
in
I
total,
said is
so let's
really
just ride
ugly
it out.
yesterday. I love Alolan Ninetales. It's such a beautiful, majestic woman.
Could it be?
Oh no, you should have kept it sealed.
Are you proud of yourself?
Don't know what to do. White
Yeah,
lens for a
it can
big
only
box.
be a woman, Salazzle, so it can
Or should
only
I keep it sealed?
The Urshifu Premium
be
Collection
women.
box. That was an aggressive sound. We got a jumbo promo. We got the regular
Why?
promo.
I don't know.
and
It's just
8
one of those
packs.
Pokemon that can
And
only
some really
be a
good packs in
woman.
this one, actually. There is another version of this box that doesn't have the Evolving Skies at the end. We're hoping for that Blaziken out of Chilling
Yeah.
Pain. And
It's a shame it's always a pain to get.
pain indeed. All right, next we got Fusion Strike, 4 of these packs, and the Gengar VMAX alternate art is the chase. This set has gone up in price like crazy lately. I remember when it came out, nobody wanted it, and now we all do. It's kind of how it is. Serena. Okay, and finally, 2 packs of Evolving Skies. That Umbreon alternate art, that's what everybody wants. I wouldn't mind it. It's not my favorite of the Umbreon arts, but
Oh no,
That's a cool Espeon
Why
card.
do you do this?
It's only
This one is a
$1.27.
should I open it or should I keep it sealed?
Call of Legends from 2011. For almost $300, which is insane, but it does contain some pretty cool shining cards, like the Lugia and Rayquaza. A shining Ho-Oh would be pretty cool, but probably the most
me that
interesting card of the bunch
Bulbasaur.
is this one, the Dark Energy. Just a Dark
We'll see,
Energy.
I'll see.
Why is it $159 raw? Well, it contains a silhouette of an Umbreon. Now, that Shining Lugia would be great because at a PSA 10, if it were to grade well, recently sold for over $8,000. So, we'll see what we get in here, but we could easily get burned pretty quickly. Let's see.
That's a cute Eevee card.
Wow,
Oh my god.
you got something not that sealed.
I don't even know what that means.
Good job, Pat.
What does that even mean? 5 episodes to 200.
Should I open it or should I keep it sealed?
Wild that we're here already. It's also wild that this pack of Heart Gold Still Silver Undaunted from 2011 is worth $160. And in this set, there's an Umbreon
Genuinely,
chase,
if you
yes,
want to
but
make
there's a few
money,
other
a good
things like
investment
these
is to
top and
literally
bottom
spend
halves
like
of these
200
legendary
bucks
cards.
on 4
Deoxys
elite
and
trainer
Rayquaza. There's
boxes,
also a
keep
Kyogre
them
in here,
sealed,
which is
and then
pretty
sell
cool.
them
Now,
for
you might be
like
wondering, I get this question a lot.
4
Why are
times
you
what you
opening
paid
packs
for
where
it.
the top chase is not even worth the price of the pack? Some of you might think I'm just not that smart, and maybe you're right.
Not even 10
But
years.
the
I
reason
mean,
why the
like
price is different is because there's an
some
entire
some
market
packs are
for
some
sealed stuff. Sealed
ETBs
stuff
that
comes
came
with its
out like
own
not that
rarity,
long
its
ago,
own
like
print rate, and all
last
this
like
sort of stuff.
2-3
And as
years
soon
ago.
as the
Lost
pack is
Origin
open,
is already like
well, that price
$100.
no longer matters because it's open. It's
Grand
now about the
Zenith
cards
came out
inside, and
in
sometimes the cards aren't
2022,
worth more. So that's your answer. Hopefully we get some
and
good here,
no, sorry, it came out in 2023, and it's still
You
$60.
smell like losing.
Sorry, no, it's like
Something new you
120
haven't
bucks,
seen.
and it was $60
It's
retail.
Pokemon 151.
Doubled in value.
But it's the simplified Chinese version, which is awesome. 15 packs per box, 5 cards per pack. And the chase out of this is this beautiful Pikachu art rare, unique to this
I love that
set
China's getting
alone.
stuff before the West is.
It literally matches the same size. Now, that is not my chase. My chase is this. I need this Pikachu Gengar art
Yeah.
rare so bad. That is my chase for sure. You could also get some baby shinies like you'd see in Paldean Fates. The reverse hollows, like that one, look really, really cool. You can even get a... You can get a full art Ninetales, which is absolutely cool. The Chinese cards have been going hard lately, I must say. The collection boxes are fantastic. Shout out to Imagined Youth Collectibles for introducing me to a lot of Chinese stuff, including handing me this box to open here on the channel. And let's see what we get here at the end.
You like Kingler?
Good.
We're power sliding into this one.
Should I open it or should I keep it sealed?
Mario Kart 64 cards for 10 cents, which is wild. Recently sold on eBay for 36, but one more thing.
Should I?
Definitely going to open this. This is a quick little moment to say thank you so much for 1 million subscribers. YouTube gold play button is now in our hands. In just 199 days since starting the channel, we hit 1 million. Didn't know what I was doing at first. In fact, tried a couple types of videos and landed on this one, and we're in a good flow now, so thank you.
What are you doing?
What am I doing? I'm just trying to show up every day, make your day a little bit better. And even though I get L's on a lot of these packs, gosh, these cards are sticky. There's even tips on the back of these, actually, which is kind of cool. It's always a dub for me to hang out and see the comments and the views. It's wild. It's created so many opportunities, met so many cool people because of this channel. I appreciate you, and here's to hundreds more with you. Thank you.
Oh no, you're short and you smell like pee. Ugh.
What? These cards are kind of cute.
Should I open it or should I keep it sealed?
They're called AIF babies.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was.
From China, and these are completely not legit. These are unofficial, unlicensed. I don't know how they exist. We opened some Chinese cards the other day that were official. These are not. But this is officially awesome. Look at that super secret rare Lapras. And then behind we got Barry with Weasel, Starly, and who's that? Roselia. Super thick cards, only 3 per pack. So I guess we're going to open another one. Now make sure you subscribe because tomorrow is episode 200. Larvitar on this one. Here's a little preview of episode 200.
Fuck.
Yeah, we're opening a big pack. That is awesome. Little Char with the claw, mini claw.
Larvitar is awesome.
That's so cute. And behind Charmander, we have Victory Bell. Okay.
Wow, you didn't really do too bad.
200 tomorrow.
Hey, it's episode 200 of...
Yeah, you guys were better than episode 100. Let's go.
And today we have a heavy base set pack from $19.99 that I paid $450 for. That means there's a guaranteed holo in here, and I'm opening this live in front of a crowd here at Rips and Hits in San Diego, California. So let's see how we do in this big time pack for a big time episode.
The duo. Magnemite. Bill. Rattata. Energy. Oh my gosh. You guys ready? Yeah! Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom! Wow! You actually got something, man.
I'm disappointed.
Ooh, sparkling box of Pokemon.
Should I open it or should I keep it sealed?
151 Horizons Gemstone.
Not bad. Not bad.
And we got...
It's Pikachu!
And speaking of Pikachu,
Look at me, sure. I'm the captain now.
that card is so sweet, Captain Pikachu. We got 15 packs, 4 cards each, 60 cards to go through, and it's time to eat. Now, this is simplified Chinese. Look at that holo. That's crazy on that Florgato. Master Balls in here. We got Energy Balls, regular Pokeballs,
It's Pikachu!
Pikachus and balls everywhere. We got Florigato baby shinies.
It's Pikachu!
Sparkly Pikachu? What's going on? Quaxley, nice. All right, come on, Art Rare. Art Rare Pikachu, where are you?
It's Pikachu!
That's not it.
Very nice. She's a
Wow,
10.
Art Rare Sprigatito, nice. Another one?
You got 3 Pikachus in one
A
time.
$280 pack of Pokemon, taking us back to the year 2000.
Should I open it or should I keep it sealed?
We got Team Rocket Unlimited with Giovanni on the pack art there, the 5th Pokemon TCG expansion set, again back in the year 2000. And so,
Hi, how are you?
yeah, we're going to open this thing and see what's inside. We'd love to see a Dark Charizard, a Dark Big Boy Blastoise, or Dark Dragonite. There's a lot of other great cards in here too, so let's see how our luck treats us today.
Just doing the thing. I know what you are.
Oh no, your luck does not exist.
You smell like losing.
That was it. Did you enjoy? No. No worky. No worky. No worky. Only Pokemon dresser. Okay. Okay. Yippee. Whoosh. Now I'm all alone again. Door. Boom, boom. Wall. Boop, boop. This is already dug out for me. I just need to change it from dirt to wood.
already almost at max HP just from looking for the flare gun, there's not much to do before the eye. I would like to break a shadow orb for goblins, but, I decided to pop over.
It's been almost 1 whole year since we read It Ends With Us on this channel, a novel by none other than Miss Colleen Hoover. And if you're watching this video, you probably already know who Colleen is. Like here, take a look at this image. I dare you to tell me you don't recognize her.
Keep looking, don't look over here.
But for those of you who didn't pass that Colleen Hoover litmus test, in a nutshell, she is the author of absurdly popular books such as Ugly Love, November 9th, and Layla, just to name a few. But all of their glory doth pale in comparison to her most sought-after novel, It Ends With Us, which got its very own film adaptation just a few weeks ago. And this was huge news for the Hooververse, considering the only other adaptation of one of her books was a limited series on a streaming service more irrelevant than the Salt Bay of 2017, which, by the way, I do have a video on it if you want to check it out. But needless to say, the premiere of an actual Colleen Hoover movie was like the second coming of Christ, but for book talk, because the book itself has sold 8 million copies. And not only that, it was on the New York Times bestseller list for a whopping 140 weeks. That's crazy. That's literally the same amount of time that I spent in the womb. Yep, I'm overcooked. I bet that explains a lot. But as with all Colleen Hoover novels, many people, including myself, find the quality of her writing questionable. I mean, this is the lady that wrote the line, "We laugh at our son's big balls." This is the lady who wrote about jerking off at the Steak and Shake. And Colleen Hoover criticism is pretty rampant here on YouTube. Not only just for the writing, but for how popular she is on Book Talk, which is a subgenre of TikTok users that are known for being very normal. But anyways, if you want my full rundown of this book, unabridged, definitely watch this video. Or this one by my friend Nicole Raffi, who is also always right. But today's video is more so about the movie and the drama behind said movie. And to give you a necessary spark notes on the plot, just so that everything can make sense, It Ends With Us is about Lily Blossom Bloom. Yes, actual government name. And she's a florist who meets Ryle Kincaid, who is a sexy man-whore neurosurgeon. And the two of them proceed to fall in love, but the relationship soon turns destructive after Ryle physically assaults her. And another huge part of the plot is Lily's relationship with Atlas Corrigan, who is her very first love from high school, whom she reconnects with during her tumultuous, abusive relationship with the criminal neurosurgeon. Now, to preface what I'm about to say, if this book helped you in any way, I am so glad it did. And I will admit, there are good elements to it. However, I do have a lot of beef with how, in my opinion, poorly written it is in various important areas. For example, a lack of nuance and complexity in the characters, including Lily Bloom herself. And also, Colleen Hoover's hyperfixation on Ellen DeGeneres, Nemo, and marine-grade polymer are truly fascinating. Seriously, here's just a few of the marine-grade polymer quotes from It Ends With Us. He kicks the chair repeatedly, over and over. Rather than give away beneath the blunt force of his foot, all the chair does is scoot farther and farther away from him. That chair must be made from marine-grade polymer. Next quote. You remember when I walked out onto the roof? How angry I was? I nod again. He was kicking the chair. It was before he knew marine grade polymer was virtually indestructible. My outlet used to be gardening. Anytime I was stressed, I'd just go out to the backyard and pull every single weed I could find. But since the day I moved to Boston 2 years ago, I haven't had a backyard or a patio. I don't even have weeds. Maybe I need to invest in a marine grade polymer patio chair. Now that my father is gone and I never have to worry about my mother again, I was looking forward to spreading my wings, so to speak. But now she's moving to Boston? It feels like my wings were just clipped. Where is a marine grade polymer chair when I need one? And lastly, that's my hair. It's hard to miss, along with the marine grade polymer chair I'm lying on. Seriously, why does she keep bringing this up? If I could say just one thing to Colleen, I would ask her, what the f is up with the marine grade polymer chairs? With all of that being said though, I'm not gonna lie, when I found out this movie was coming out, I nearly leapt up in the air and said, yippee bobbly boy howdy. Because first of all, I am very familiar with the book, and secondly, this is a film about domestic abuse, something I've been through. And it's just not often that I get to monetize my trauma like that. Like, hello, can I get a little moolah for all of my pain and suffering, please? Another one, thank you. Another one, thank you. Now, trigger warning. Skip ahead to this timestamp if you don't want to hear about what happened to me. Okay, to put it bluntly, I was choked, pushed, punched all over my body, and sexually assaulted by an ex-partner of mine. He also pretended to have a heart attack when I broke up with him, but that's a different story. And I do have a video about this from 2-ish years ago, but beware if you look this up, I am for sure 300 and million times percent in a manic state in this video, okay? It's not great, okay? If you choose to watch it and it seems like I haven't slept in 10 days, it's probably because I didn't. And 2 years later, I'm realizing there is so much that I left out because it takes a while to process this type of trauma. In other words, I have qualifications. Okay, now let's talk about why we are here. What is all the drama? What is all the tea with this movie? Well, it has been subject to so much criticism and so much speculation that right now, if you look up the It Ends With Us movie, the movie showtimes, synopsis, and reviews are not the first thing that pops up. Instead, you'll see headlines such as, a psychologist explains the It Ends With Us press tour drama. It Ends With Us was already problematic. Blake Lively's press tour made it worse. It Ends With Us sequel in doubt amid Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni feud. And a giant monkey just destroyed the Empire State Building. What? But to really break down this drama, we need to start from the beginning. And it all began in the year of 2019, when actor slash director Justin Baldoni bought the rights to direct the It Ends With Us film. Although he's most well known for being in this award-winning episode of The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. And speaking of Zack and Cody, Justin also directed a film titled 5 Feet Apart, starring none other than Cole Sprouse. And this is one of those terminally ill romance movies that were for some reason a phenomenon in the 2010s. And by the way, I am very fascinated with this whole subgenre of film, but I bring this up to say the majority of films that he's worked on, regardless of if he was a director or a producer, are about tackling serious subjects. In fact, 2 of his other projects, My Last Days and Clouds, are also about terminal illnesses. Justin also had a podcast up until very recently titled the Man Enough Podcast, where he and his co-host, activist Liz Plank, discuss topics such as toxic masculinity and the patriarchy. Like, feminism is something that he's talked about frequently throughout his career. He even did a TED Talk in November of 2017 2017, similarly titled Man Enough, in which he once again discussed the roots of male toxicity. And so, his history of advocacy is likely part of the reason why Colleen Hoover herself chose him to adapt It Ends With Us. She said, and I quote, "I was very protective of this book," Hoover says, adding that she rejected several offers before Baldoni's. "But then I got an email from Justin that was really heartfelt, and I felt like he understood the book and he understood the importance of people needing to see it on screen." It was also her idea to later cast him as Ryle Kincaid, aka the abusive neurosurgeon boyfriend. Quote, "Hoover sent a spontaneous email to Baldoni during this optioning process. 'Have you ever thought about acting in this?' she said. 'Maybe playing Ryle? I could see it.' And her reasoning behind this decision was that she needed somebody likable to play Ryle in order for it to properly hurt the audience when they find out ultimately that he is a piece of shit. Quote, "With Justin, who is just a truly kind person playing that role, it was honestly perfect." Colleen speaking so highly of Justin is such a stark contrast for what is to come, by the way, because not only will Colleen end up completely ghosting Justin, by the end of this video, we will have to ask the question, is Justin Baldoni a wolf in sheep's clothing? That brings us to casting. Okay, let's talk about it. Justin Baldoni ended up casting Blake Lively as Lily Bloom in 2023. And if you don't know who Blake Lively is, she's best known as the main character in the iconic 2000s show Gossip Girl. And if you've never heard of Gossip Girl, well, look no further than the Go Piss Girl meme. I know all of you have seen this at one point or the other. And other than that, Blake has been in a shark movie, a pants movie, and she's married to Ryan Reynolds, aka the owner of Mint Mobile and the Rick and Morty of actors. And remember this, because Ryan Reynolds is more important to the It Ends With Us lore than you would suspect. But soon after Blake Lively joined the movie, the rest of the cast followed suit. Brandon Sklenner as Atlas, aka Lily's long-lost love, Jenny Slate as Alyssa, aka Ryle Kincaid's sister, Hassan Minaj as Marshall, aka Alyssa's rich husband. And lastly, we have young Lily and young Atlas, played by Isabella Ferrer and Alex Nutsid-Detler. Now, something crucial and unexpected is that somewhere along the way in production, Blake Lively became not just the main character, but a producer. And how exactly this happened is unclear. And later in our timeline, there would even be claims from an anonymous employee that Blake was bankrolling it, meaning that she herself was providing some funding for this film outside of Justin Baldoni's production studio, which may or may not have led her to having a bigger say than even Justin himself. But regardless of whether or not that bankrolling claim is true, one thing is for sure. Blake becoming a producer would soon become one of the reasons why the set metamorphosized into chaos. Promotions. Now, the promotional material for this movie is a total shit show, to be quite frank. And all of it just gets progressively worse over time. So let's just start in order. Order of operations, PEMDAS. Firstly, we have the It Ends With Us fashion phobia. And let me tell you, folks, there's a lot of phobias out there. Megalophobia, thalassophobia, homophobia. But what most people aren't aware of is fashion phobia, which the Webster Dictionary definition of fashion phobia is a phobia of fashion, if that helps. And it is a diagnosis that perfectly encapsulates the entire wardrobe situation in It Ends With Us. Because when the first images of Blake Lively on this set were released, oh boy, there was a lot to digest. For example, we have Blake here wearing a pair of yellow pants with a leaf-like pattern with a second pair of blue pants underneath, a striped yellow button-up shirt topped with a mustard-colored leather blazer, and finally a red pair of kitten heels. Please everybody settle down. I promise I'll be taking questions at the end. Up next, we have this outfit, which is actually my personal favorite. It's a baby pink Carhartt t-shirt, visibly knotted and bunched up at the waist to be smaller, paired with a magenta oversized button-up and a long dirt brown skirt that comes all the way up to her ribcage. Oh, and I almost forgot the designer bag. Beautiful! She kind of looks like Miss Frizzle if you took her to Marshall's and mainlined Live, Laugh, Love straight into her bloodstream. But lastly, for now at least, there's this one, which is just so stupid because you can't even see anything. All there is a pair of Ugg boots and a floating head. And just so we're clear, I do not think Blake Lively is ugly in the slightest, but these outfits are so shockingly unflattering that she borderline looks like a different person. Like, even the tone of red that was chosen to dye her hair feels misinformed. Like, is that Blake Lively or Ed Sheeran? I need to get my eyes checked. But needless to say, when I first saw these outfits, I said to myself, oh my god, what are they doing to my girl Blake Lively in there? Even in my Letterboxd review, I was pouring one out for her. Like, how did they make Blake Lively look this bad? But then, imagine my surprise when I started researching for this video, and it turns out she was the one who picked all of them out. According to the members of the production, the set and costume designer originally had a much darker, almost gothic theme with rich dark violet and deep red colors. But Blake had her own vision of how she wanted to dress Lily, as she took more liberty over the production, which conflicted with the costume department's ideas that were eventually scrapped. And here is a direct quote from one of the crew members that actually witnessed this on set. We went dark because of picket lines, and in that time, the costume department was running around with their heads cut off, trying to figure out how they could change everything to make Blake happy. One crew member says, there were a lot of returns, exchanges, and repurchasing of an entire wardrobe, okay? And imagine my surprise again when I find out, no, not only was she picking these out, no, they were from her actual real life closet. In a later interview, she would say that a lot of the pieces that made it into the film were actually hers, and she even snuck in some of her husband's shirts and socks.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my real life jeans.
Yeah, a lot of that is like your stuff.
I have a few of my husband's shirts and socks.
And exactly why she did this is kind of a big old huh?
Clothes are very expressive to me. I feel like a different person given whatever I'm wearing.
Have you seen these pants?
No, they're amazing. And my shoes.
Unbelievable.
I know, you and your Louboutins always kill it.
But can I just interject? Like, if these outfits are for the sake of character building, I'm confused about the inclusion of her designer clothes.
There's these great Louboutins that are also a close-up on them when we're dancing in the bar. Those are mine.
And her husband's socks. What does that got to do with Lily? And speaking of pricey clothes, there is an unreasonable amount of Carhartt in this movie. So much so that when we were in the theater watching this, my boyfriend turns to me and he says, is this sponsored by Carhartt? And it wasn't even just him. Even people on Reddit are confused about this. Like, I genuinely cannot express enough how distracting this was. And just to give you one example, without getting into the whole movie yet, there's a scene where Lily arrives to a party wearing a giant green Carhartt jacket over a gown, like a full-on party dress with sparkly diamond ankle boots underneath. Like, not only was this jacket a bizarre addition to an outfit that goes unexplained, when Lily Blue Bloom removes it, it's supposed to be this big, sexy moment like, wow, look at her. And Ryle is like distracted, looking over there. But even the cutout on the dress itself is just so, like, I don't know. You're gonna just have to watch it. And listen, there's a ton of things that we're gonna talk about where we do not know whether or not Blake made the sole creative decisions for them. But there is absolutely no debate when it comes to her hand in the costume department. And this is just one of the many things that Blake will be criticized for, because the outfits in this movie have way too much discussion in promotion and in her interviews, to the point where we are not discussing the actual message of the movie anymore. And by the way, in this same interview, Blake says that every character in this movie's playlist is reputation.
Reputation. Just reputation. That's what I listen to. Every character's playlist is Reputation.
Which, if you didn't know, is an album by Taylor Swift. And it's important to know that all of the characters in this film about domestic violence listen to Taylor Swift because actually, I don't have any reasons. Maybe Taylor herself can fly over on her private jet and give me one. But speaking of Taylor Swift, Blake Lively is actually really close friends with her, which may seem slightly irrelevant, but it will come up again later, funnily enough. Let's talk about the trailer. On May 16th, 2024, the It Ends With Us movie trailer was posted on godsyoutube.com. And in a nutshell, this trailer comes off as a romantic drama at first, showing Lily dancing and having fun with Ryle, but then suddenly we see him get angry and throw a glass on the floor. This, as well as a handful of other moments, insinuate that there is some kind of abuse or violence happening. Like the titular line from the book, oh my god, that was very hard for me to say, can I get a titular? Quote, what would you do if your daughter came to you and told you someone she loved was hurting her? It basically portrayed the contents of the book without showing any of the cringeworthy things, such as the ever-looming presence of Ellen DeGeneres. And because of this, I really wanted to give the movie a fair chance and hoped that it would improve upon its source material. But outside of my personal opinion, from the get-go, It Ends With Us fans were pretty stoked, and the comments underneath the trailer are scattered with women relating their own trauma to the book, as well as sharing grueling stories about escaping abusive relationships. For example, this comment here: to all the women watching this who've been abused by their partners and had the courage to leave, I see you, I am you. To everyone else that held on to those who supported us and those who made space for us, I see you too. I see all of you. I left. It's been 3 years. When I made space, I met the love of my life, and only now at the age of 31 do I know what a man should be. Thank the universe, and thanks to my love and all of you. And besides that, everyone seemed super ecstatic to finally see their favorite characters on the silver screen. You know, heartbreak feels good in a place like this. In fact, it seemed like the only thing fans didn't like was the casting for Atlas, whom they seem to f***ing hate, which is honestly hilarious. It's so sad that Atlas looks nothing like what I imagined. 14,000 likes. This looks way better than I was expecting. The flower shop is exactly what I envisioned. Still not sold on the guy playing Atlas, but that's okay. 24,000 likes. And listen, I get it. I didn't even like the book, and I didn't imagine Atlas to look like that. I imagined him to look like itty-bitty iPhone mini-sized Requiem for a Dream Leto. But that's beside the point. What is really important, and I can't stress it enough, okay, is that as goofy as Colleen Hoover's writing is, this book really means something to a lot of people. Let me just show you another example. This book meant so much to me as a survivor. The way I can relate to Lily in so many ways made the books so special. I may not have had an Atlas, but I did have a Ryle, and I will always always be proud of myself for getting out of that situation and demanding better for myself. And so, knowing this, wouldn't it be crazy if someone whose name rhymes with Schmake Schmively were to use this film about domestic violence as an opportunity to advertise her other business ventures? Poster! This brings us to the great poster bonanza. Now, this poster bonanza was actually the first major red flag in terms of the movie's catfish advertising. And what I mean by that is, it seems like Blake specifically did not want to talk about or even allude to the topic of domestic violence during any of the